Why do you wear that stupid bunny suit? Why are you wearing that stupid man suit? Every living creature on this earth dies alone. Frank, when's this gonna stop? You should already know that. If the sky were to suddenly open up, there would be no law, there would be no rule. There would only be you and your memories. I made a new friend today. Real or imaginary? Imaginary. This famous linguist once said that of all the phrases in the English language, of all the endless combination of words in all of history, that cellar door is the most beautiful. My parents didn't get me what I wanted for Christmas. What did you want? Hungry, hungry hippos. And how did you feel being denied these hungry, hungry hippos? Regret. 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds. That is when the world will end. Why? Donnie Darko, directed by Richard Kelly, 2001, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Jenna Malone, Drew Barrymore, Mary McDonnell, Catherine Ross, Patrick Swayze, Noah Weil, Seth Rogen, and James Duval, who plays Frank, this pivotal character. Again, one of my favorites, this sort of deus ex machina. This rabbit appears from some beyond, and it does all this influencing of the main character, the protagonist, Donnie Darko. Very interesting. And I love that Maggie Gyllenhaal, his real sister, is in this movie with him, which is adorable that they're playing siblings. The more you think you know what's going on, the less you do. So Donnie Darko isn't just a cult classic. It's a film that rewards you for paying attention. Beneath its surreal imagery and time-bending plot is a story about mental illness, destiny, suburban repression, and the terrifying freedom of choice. So our film is set in a suburban town in the 1980s, 1988 specifically, October 1988 specifically. And we have this sort of suburban malaise and uneasiness. Everything in this upper middle class neighborhood seems very nice on the surface, but there are these underlying tensions and currents. And we see this sort of shift between this sort of moralistic high ground for more freedom and individualistic views coming upon the culture of this time and challenging a lot of those traditional norms. And so there's this push by those threatened by that, the likes of the PE teacher and the self-help guru. So, and then the complete hypocrisy of that, given the real motivations and the dirty dealings and criminal activity conducted by the character. So another thing that came to mind when I first saw this movie was a film from the 1970s called Butterflies Are Free. And in that movie, the character is blind and he's trying very hard to be independent and move away from his mother's control. And so he rents an apartment in San Francisco, in the groovy, hip part of town in the 70s. And one of the things he mentions is that his overly protective mother has written a series of children's books in honor of her son, who has been blind since birth, and speaks of this mythical character as a hero, and she names the character. So the character of that movie, the protagonist in Butterflies Are Free, his name is Donnie Baker. And so in the children's series, in order to champion her son and write about it and help other children who might be blind, and to raise awareness of issues, she writes this series of books. And in this, the protagonist is little Donnie Dark. And so the moment I saw Donnie Darko, that clicked. And it's probably a completely unconscious aspect of the writers who named it so, because they probably saw this movie in their youth in a rerun, because it's a very strange coincidence. Donnie Darko, little Donnie Dark. So that stuck with me, and I found that very interesting, and perhaps no connection whatsoever, but I'm guessing probably exposed to that movie as a child. The director or the author is probably where it came from. So very interesting little tangent. And speaking of tangents, let's look at the tangent universe. So there's the primary universe, the tangent universe. This also factors in the movie with regard to time travel and parallel universes and multidimensionalism. Very interesting. And then overlaid on top of this is a sort of existentialist philosophy, existential crisis, and free will. So it's a very fascinating movie. And as I said, the more you look at it and unpack it, the more remarkable and just what a gem it is, you know. So one of the things I wanted to look at is in the doctor's office, the psychiatrist, Dr. Thurman, there's a painting in the background. I've always been fascinated by this painting. And I remember when first seeing it in this very intimate setting at the therapy session, we see this face glimpsing back at us. And at first glance, I thought it was Egyptian, like the mask of Tutankhamun. But then it actually turns out to be a piece made specifically for the film, friend of the director's. And if you look very closely, it's made up of writing. And it looks like Old English or maybe German, and it's also reversed. You can barely see it, and then it pulls back and you have this visage, this face. And next to that, we see this interesting East Asian mask. That's what it appears like to me. Also staring back at us. And we see faces staring back at us in mirrors. Frank. Very interesting. One of the things that I was shocked by the therapist saying to Donnie is repeating what he had heard from Sparrow. And I found that to be so heartless. You know, he's fearing and he's worried, and why would you repeat that? So I did some research on this. So one of the theories is she's trying to have him have a breakthrough and to evolve or to come out of it. But really, I found that to be cruel. I remember watching that and thinking, what a creepy thing to say. Why would a good therapist say that? Emphasizing and reinforcing his own trepidations, loneliness, isolation, and so on. I also think, and this is also meant to poke at generational differences, she doesn't get any of his references with the sitcom, and kind of comes across, if we look at her body language and face, she's kind of disgusted by him. Although at the same time, she does demonstrate that she cares and does return his embrace when he has this moment, this deep crisis in therapy. Also, I wanted to explore Frank in greater detail, and also the concept of Frank instructing him to damage, let's say, the Jim Cunningham character's home, and having it uncover a scandal, a hidden criminal activity, right? And then how does that fit into the tangent universe versus the primary universe? And so that seems strange, that there is this redeeming quality, and it's not clear how that plays out. There's overlap. Again, what makes this film so intriguing and enjoyable. So to understand this movie, we have to abandon logic and reason, and we have to look to Roberta Sparrow's book, which explains time travel and multidimensionalism. So her philosophy states that the universe is fragile, and from time to time, this causes a glitch or an anomaly or a cosmic hiccup. And so it's rare, but when it happens, it creates instability and pressure on the primary universe. And so the primary universe occasionally becomes unstable for no identifiable reason. And when this happens, a tangent universe forms. It is unstable and it causes stress on the primary universe. And if not resolved, can collapse and then take the primary universe with it. So this is what's happening in this movie. So we can't think of it in linear time or cause and effect. We have to think of it in terms of this unusual philosophical position, according to Sparrow's worldview. So the primary universe becomes unstable for no external reason. It's just the nature of the universe. It's fragile. It's not perfect, and sometimes energies are low or things happen that create this tension, and then suddenly the tangent universe forms. And so the people living in that moment are now entering a different dimension, a different universe, and they don't even realize it. Yet Donnie can see it, and this is the point why he's chosen. And some of the reason he is chosen is because he is sort of dealing with these mental issues, which has sort of given him a heightened sense in some ways, almost like a savant, that he just can see things other people can't. And this is partly due by being sort of an outsider and not seeing the world and just accepting it as it is. So this makes him a prime target for the to be chosen as the living receiver to then bring the order back to the universe. So this tangent formation creates critical stress on the primary universe, and suddenly an artifact is pulled from the primary universe into that tangent universe. In this case, the jet engine. So the living receiver, Donnie, must return it. And once returned, it collapses the tangent universe, and it does so in a way that's safe and restores the primary universe. So when we're looking at people and their actions and behaviors inside the tangent universe, which to us as the audience, we think this is the same movie or the same reality, and it's not. And so this engine is dropped out of the sky, this artifact, as it's called, and Donnie doesn't meet his doom in that moment, because now we're in the tangent universe. And so all the people he's interacting with are now what is called the manipulated living. So his family, his friends, Frank, his therapist. And this explains my first question as to why would a therapist give such terrible information? It's because she is no longer Dr. Thurman, right? She's become some other aspect of Dr. Thurman in another dimension, where she's no longer a therapist with, training and a license, but now she's just acting in this manipulated state by the tangent universe in order to get her, as all the people that surround Donnie, the living receiver, have to convince him to bring the artifact back. In other words, meet his doom. And so this is very interesting. So that explains that. And then Frank. So this was a part of the story that gave me struggle. So Frank instructs Frank is in the primary universe a regular suburban kid in the neighborhood, right? But now, in the tangent universe, he has become the manipulated dead. So he's like a ghost in a way, where part of him is still, in theory, alive in the primary universe. So my question was, if Donnie doesn't meet his demise, it causes the tangent universe to appear. But then my question is, why would Frank, the manipulated dead, call him to wake up so that he would get up out of his bed, leave the house, and miss getting done in by the jet engine? That seems very odd. And so the reason I can best guess, according to this theory, is that yes, he is working for the benefit of the universe through this manipulation, even though he is a ghost, or some part of him in that universe is already dead. But he has to allow Donnie to pass through this time period in order to then correctly restore order. It's just so insane, and it really stumps the mind, and that's what makes this movie so incredibly enjoyable and fascinating and intriguing. So that's Frank's role. And then here's the glitch. Here's another problem. During the tangent universe experience, through the influence of Frank, Donnie gets up out of the movie theater and is instructed to damage Jim Cunningham's property. And in doing so, this horrible scandal is revealed of his criminal activity, Jim Cunningham's criminal activity, the PDF file situation. And so this is a good thing, right? That he's uncovered this. Other children won't be harmed now that he's been exposed. But the tricky part here is that this is not going to really happen. And so even though the universe is restored, this is my gripe with the movie, then that secret remains secret in the primary universe. And Jim Cunningham goes on to hustle people for money on his guru self-help thing, at the same time potentially harming children. So when I investigated this, the best answer is that the universe doesn't care about justice. It cares about correcting the order, because if this is not corrected, the whole universe will end. So it's a very bittersweet and frustrating moment in the movie when you come to realize that. So that was my take on Donnie Darko. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, you could spend many hours unpacking this, but these were the points that stood out to me that I wanted to talk about. Now I better understand. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you, and until next time.